The Dramatist Guild is the National Association of Playwrights, Composers, Lyricists, and Librettists. For the first time in a generation, our industry is undergoing a tectonic shift. If you're not a member, join today. Learn more at our website.
Hello and welcome to the Dramatist Live. My name is Joey Stocks. I'm the editor of The Dramatist and director of publications at the Dramatist Guild of America. My co-hosts are both DG Council members and members of our publications committee. Please help me welcome Amanda Green and Christine Toy Johnson. Hi.
Hi. Every week we do this, and this is, I think, week 8, right? I think we need some theme music. Why don't we have theme music? We know composers.
Please, submit your theme music. We'll have something different every week. Yeah, I feel like 10 questions maybe needs its own special graphic. And,
yeah, sure.
You know, well, maybe one day. We can dream.
That's right.
How's your week?
We're still here. You know what? We're still here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Same here. It was busy, but it wasn't quite as unmanageable as last week for me for some reason.
Good.
It was really no different. Yes. I just remembered to breathe from time to time.
That's a good thing.
Not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My week was pretty good. I
Good.
started working on a new song. I met with a collaborator about a possible new project, which got me excited. So that was good.
Excellent.
The world is going to hell in a handbasket, but you persevere. Yeah.
And now there some reports are saying that we may have some kind of wild polar vortex snowstorm on Saturday. Have you heard this?
No.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure I believe it because my weather app says it'll be chilly for sure, but it's not calling for anything wild. But depending on the source.
Okay.
Wild and weather are not two adjectives you want together.
No.
That's right. Well, I'm not in the mood for snow myself.
No. It's had its opportunity. I missed it this winter, but it's
Yes. I've already broken out the seersucker, for God's sake.
No, I did that last weekend when it was like 80 degrees out, and I took out all of my summer stuff, and then it turned like 50 degrees or 40 degrees the next day. I'm like, okay, well, that's a metaphor for making plans these days, right?
That's right. Exactly right. Yep, that's it. Well, we had such beautiful weather on Sunday. I'm sort of hoping for more of that. That was lovely. All right, let's get this thing going here.
Yes.
Last week, Andrew Lippick came on to talk about the Guild's New Media Committee, which is chaired by Christopher DIAZ. Since new media is something that we're all thinking about right now, and this committee is still in its infancy, we've invited Chris on to talk a bit more about the sorts of questions this committee is considering.
Yes, and so I'm going to give a little introduction to our friend Chris DIAZ. He is a playwright, screenwriter, and educator living and working in Brooklyn. He was a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize for his play, The Elaborate Entrance of Chad Deity, and he serves on council for the Dramatist Guild. Welcome, Chris. Good to see you.
Chris.
Hi.
I was muted.
You are muted.
Hi. I'm not in Brooklyn anymore. I'm in New Jersey, which is why I'm in this weird attic-y thing.
Gotcha.
But it's good to see everybody.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, it kind of looks like you're in some kind of spaceship or something.
Yeah, it's either the Millennium Falcon or sometimes people think it's a spider web.
Okay.
Having a spider live up here.
Very nice.
Very nice. Is that your family home?
This is where just a few years ago, I did the thing that you do when you are in Brooklyn and you have a second child, we moved to New Jersey.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So listen, at the risk of repeating some of what might have been said last week, will you tell us what the committee is looking into?
We're looking into everything. You know, I think the important thing, Andrew probably covered a lot of this already, but I think the important thing to know about the committee is that it's got at least a dual focus. We're thinking about looking at what the field is doing, what the sector is doing, what theaters are doing, and what artists are doing right now to support ourselves, to make sure the institutions continue to exist and continue to find ways to bring in income, and to more importantly, to generate art and create community. So we're looking at the ways that playwrights are moving their work online, theaters are supporting that, all that good stuff. But we're also really aware that this is a moment of seismic, foundational, generational change. And the move to digital, the pivot to digital, is something that it's kind of surprising that theaters haven't figured out in a big way. There's lots of reasons for that. And it's not a matter of the digital, the new media replacing what we do in theaters, because honestly, even this beautiful gift of the Zoom call-in doesn't do what we do. It doesn't get us in together, it get a bunch of people together, a bunch of strangers together in a dark room to share space, to share the air. I know we don't talk about sharing the air right now, but to do all the things that we actually do as theater artists. We're not talking about the new media world replacing that, but we're trying to think about ways that the new media world may support that, may create new grounds for work, and create new grounds, quite honestly, for monetization, so that we can get paid and theaters can get paid and continue to exist. So we're looking at all those things at the same time.
Yeah, that's great. And you know, to your point, Chris, next week's episode of the Dramatist Live, we have a roundtable that'll be moderated by Todd London and Teresa Coleman-Wash. And our guests will be a roundtable of 5 artistic directors. We have Nataki Garrett from Oregon Shakespeare Festival, Rick Dildeen from Alabama Shakespeare Festival, Maria Goyanis from Woolly Mammoth, Robert Barry Fleming from Actors Theater of Louisville, and Julianne Boyd from Barrington Stage. So that ought to have a lot of information in it, I hope, for this committee.
Yeah, and what a great group. I mean, and folks like OSF have already jumped online, figured out ways to implement something that they'd been working on for quite a while. I mean, I'll leave it to Nataki to talk more specifically about that.
Yeah.
But that's fantastic to hear. These conversations are going on in a big way.
Yeah, they really are. Yeah, they, in fact, all of our guests next week have in some way, shape, or form branched out into the world of digital and other forms as well.
Yeah,
I'm curious why you say generationally. What do you mean by generation?
I just mean it's going to be something that defines the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years of theater. I mean, I think it impacts all of us. It impacts, you know, my generation. It impacts the generation before me, but it certainly impacts the generations that are coming up after us. In general, I think, and I've been saying this, or actually not saying it, I've been holding it inside for a long time, but I think we live before this thing and after this thing, this COVID thing. I think that this is foundational change to the way that we exist in this world and in this society. And theater is not going away. Theater will always exist, and you know, people will find ways to get together and make art and tell stories. But I think the way that it's going to look when we come back, whatever that is just going to be different. So that's what I mean when I say, you know, generational. It's just a foundational big shift.
That makes sense.
It does. It does. Well, if people have questions about this committee, please email the Guild at questions@dramatistsguild.com. But before you go, Chris, I know you've got to run, but before you go, we're going to keep you a few more minutes and subject you to a lightning round of 10 questions. Are you ready?
Terrifying. It's not. This is performance enhancing iced tea.
Exactly. Get ready, because Amanda has the first question for you.
Okay, here's the first question. Hold on to your seat. What must you have in order to begin a new play?
Blank piece of paper, something for me to talk into, usually my phone to talk into, and you know, like a week to put it off before I actually do it.
That actually is related to the second question, is what must you have in the room while you're writing it?
The same. Good pens. These are these G2s. I like these G2s when I'm writing stuff by hand. And iced tea or water, or depending on the time at night, maybe some other brown liquid.
Gotcha. And so what do you need in order to get that play finished?
Oh my God, to get the play finished, I don't think it ever finishes. The first draft, I just need time, and I need somebody to, I need a deadline. I need to tell myself a million times that I'm not good at anything. And then I just need space and a couple of nights where I just don't go to sleep.
So when you get stuck while writing, how do you maneuver out of that?
You guys said lightning round, and I feel like I have to talk so fast.
Right, you have like 15 seconds.
when I get stuck writing, is that what you said?
Yeah. How do you maneuver out of it?
Go outside, stop writing, put my headphones in, take my phone, and just talk to myself. And we talk to myself usually about why can't you do this thing? Why are you so dumb? Why are you so bad? That only lasts for a minute. No, I'm just kidding. That's like a little truth to that. But talk to myself, and then just think about it, talk it through, and don't write anything for, probably a couple days. But work it through. But take it out of my fingers.
As a writer, what have you not done but want to try?
Oh, as a writer, what have I not done but want to try? I've gotten to do a lot of cool stuff. I haven't written a movie, I guess. I haven't adapted any of my own stuff into a movie, so maybe.
That's good.
Yeah.
What is a common misconception about you?
By who? By my kids? My kids think I'm, I don't know what my kids think I am. A common misconception about me. I don't think people have conceptions about me. Do people have conceptions about me?
I don't know.
I don't know. I live in Brooklyn.
That's a misconception. Yeah.
What is the best writing advice you've ever given or received?
There's a few that are probably running through my head. The first one that comes to mind was Mark Dickerman, who was the chair of the dramatic writing department at NYU when I went there, said a finished script, an unfinished script is nothing, but a finished script is an asset. So basically just getting through to the end is an important thing. And then I think the big thing that I give, I don't know if it's good, but the thing that I give the most is that in order to be, and I think I wrote this into the little coping mechanism thing, in order to be a writer, you have to care 100% about the thing and also care 0% about the thing. You have to be dedicated to giving everything you have to make sure that you finish it, but also to be not precious and dispose and get rid of things, and know that if you mess it up, you mess it up and then you write another one.
What production do you wish you'd seen?
I wish I had seen the How I Learned to Drive that got canceled on Broadway, because I was so convinced, I know we're not supposed to talk about like the behind the scenes of Tony World, but I was so convinced that Mary Louise Parker was going to be nominated against herself, because The Sound Inside was one of the best performances I've ever seen. And she is by far to me the most exciting theater artist that I know, and it's my favorite. It's one of my 2 or 3 favorite plays of all time. So to see her getting to do that role again, it destroys me that I didn't get to see it.
Huh.
Yeah, same. What's your favorite quarantine pastime?
I play this dumb online tower defense game called Kingdom Rush with my son, my 8-year-old, and it's a game that I had like played as a time waster on my own, and he finally got old enough to play it. And so every couple of days we sit down and we play this dumb, silly game together, and it actually feels really, really good. It's like the equivalent of putting on our mitts and going outside and having a catch, but we do it in the digital age. New media.
And our final question comes from one of our viewers. Diane Reeves asks, what is the most important non-creative area about which a new playwright should become knowledgeable?
Wow. I think non-creative. I think taking care of yourself physically. Like, one of the things that I honestly wish that I did when I was 19, 20 years old and I started, doing more writing and more like going to the theater, and, I wasn't an actor. but was just getting into like a regular physical practice, which is something that it took me until I was in like my 40s, honestly, to find something that worked for me. I was always, you know, sort of athletic and sort of doing other stuff, but to find something that actually moved me literally and actually internally, my psychologically and emotionally moved me. So whether that's, you know, yoga or CrossFit or whatever that is for people, I think that's a huge important thing. And right now it's the thing that I'm missing the most is I mean, the theater, yes, but also like the gym is killing me. So I think like figuring out a way to stay physically active is super important, both in terms of just making you healthy, and I think it's important for your brain and your creative process.
I agree. Good
Cool.
answer. Thank you.
Is that
You
it?
did it. You did it.
Right.
You
That
did
was
it.
fun. That was super fun. I just wanted to say real quick, I want to say thank you, first of all, real quick to Christine, who came to speak to my students at NYU via Zoom yesterday. And one of the amazing things about this time is how we get to do these kinds of things. So thank you. And
Thank you for inviting me.
I love it. Love that ability. The other thing that I just want to say to all the members is please do keep us posted about what you're being asked to do, what you're proposing to do, what you're doing, what you're inventing. The more information that we have, the better we can serve you and protect you. And if you are having conversations with artistic leaders, or you want us to have conversations with artistic leaders about the things that they're doing, please reach out to us. Our committee is large and vast, and we will do pretty much anything. Like I said, this is huge and important. So we're looking out for you all.
That's right. Thank you so much for saying that.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you guys.
Thanks
Talk
a
soon.
lot. Be well.
Take care.
Be well. Yeah. So last week, we talked to several dramatists, including my writing partner, Curtis Moore, about collaborating during the pandemic. This week, we're continuing the conversation with playwright and DG regional rep, DONNA HOKE. Is Donna here?
She is on her way. Here she comes. Oh, good.
She's zooming. She's zooming. She's almost arrived. Can you just picture it?
She has a little further to travel than Kristen.
There she comes. That's right. That's right.
There she is.
There she is.
Hi.
Hey, Donna.
Right as you were about to introduce me, I got a thing that said rejoining. And I was like, oh no, but maybe that was just because you were bringing me in.
It must have been.
Yeah, I got really nervous for it.
Are you zooming in from Buffalo tonight?
Yes, I am.
Welcome.
Nice.
Hi,
I'm glad you made it.
Me too.
Yeah. So Donna, you sent me an email last week about an unexpected collaboration that came about under the extraordinary circumstances that we're all experiencing. So set the scene for us. Tell us what led up to the unexpected collaboration. And as you do, Terry is going to start bringing on your collaborators, and we'll get the rest of the story for them.
Okay. So I was supposed to have a residency this summer at a place called Arts at the Palace in Hamilton, New York. So it was supposed to be a month in residency, culminating with a full production of my play, Hearts of Stone. And obviously that's not happening. So in the meantime, when the pandemic first hit, Women's Theater Festival in North Carolina had contacted me to be their Playwright of the Week. And they were doing a thing where on Monday they had people discuss a play of yours, and on Thursday they would do a reading with a talk back. So when we did that, earlier in April, I think it was, they said they were looking for theaters who might want to take over that model because they wanted to continue on. Meanwhile, the artistic director at Arts at the Palace was like, we can probably do the production next summer, but we have to fulfill some grant requirements and do something this year. So I thought maybe they would want to take over that week. So I put those two companies together. And what they decided to do was not take over the week, but to create a virtual production of the play in advance of hopefully next year's live production. But what was really cool about that is that I had gotten a grant from NISCA to develop this play a couple of years ago, and we did a workshop of it in Buffalo. So because it's virtual, we can use that cast. So now there's people from Buffalo, from Hamilton, and from North Carolina. And I think because it's virtual, they've actually have some creative artists from the West Coast even. Is that right? Yeah. So that's what we're doing in July.
That's
awesome.
Very cool.
Great. I love it.
So we're now joined. Please tell me if you pronounce it Johanna or Joanna.
Johanna. Yeah.
Johanna Edwards. Thank you for joining us, Johanna. She's the
Yeah.
executive director of the Women's Theater Festival in Raleigh, North Carolina.
And we also have Rowan HAIGH or HAIGH?
HAIGH.
HAIGH. Rowan HAIGH, who is a freelance director, deviser, and educator, and serves as Director of Engagement for Women's Theater Festival. Welcome.
And we have Elizabeth Douglas, who's the executive director of Arts at the Palace in Hamilton.
Hello.
And she's also a writer and a member of the Guild. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
So Donna is scheduled to do some work with each of your organizations. Then the COVID-19 pandemic hit. Then what happened at Arts at the Palace?
What happened at Arts at the Palace is that, I called Donna, and I'm new there. So this is my first call to her, and said, Donna, what are we going to, do about your residency? And we agreed, it wasn't going to happen as written. And we came up with the idea of doing something remote, very simple. We've been doing Zoom events at Arts at the Palace, and they've been going really well. But then our second call, she was telling me about the Women's Theater Festival, and, did we want to maybe collaborate, do a reading with them? And that sounded great. And then we had the third call. I think we all got together at that point, and we started talking about the idea of doing a full production, like a Zoom production, a virtual production. And then it became very exciting. And then we were I was kind of thinking, I'm kind of glad this is happening, because it is truly going to be, I think, so interesting.
Yeah. So Johanna and Rowan, had you even heard of Arts at the Palace?
Nope.
Had not heard of Arts at the Palace, but was very excited to. But we knew Donna. In fact, this play had been a part of our Occupy the Stage 24-hour staged reading festival in 2018.
Which I had completely forgotten about when I brought this up.
And so how did you bring the two organizations together?
After I talked to Elizabeth, I emailed Johanna and Rowan, and I said, is this something like, would you want them to take over? Would you want to co-produce this so people in North Carolina could also be part of any of the community engagement that we're supposed to be doing with the grant? And then we just had a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, and meanwhile, so Women's Theater Festival, we're a festival and a company. So we were gearing up to pivot our annual festival, which occurs in July, into a virtual format festival where we do have a fringe series, which Rowan is in charge of. And so we were at that same time figuring out what is virtual fringe festival going to look like and what are we looking for in these shows. And that was the exact same time that Donna connected us with Elizabeth and Arts in the Palace. And it's like, well, this should obviously be a fringe show that we kind of co-produce in-house.
Yeah, that's great. Rowan, would you tell us a little bit about the fringe aspect?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it is like in a real live in-person traditional theater sense, it's a pretty straight up fringe festival, sort of plug and play, bring your own show. And we will hook you up with the venue and you have a little bit of a tech time and then you just go. So in the virtual format, we've actually taken what was our condensed like weekend festival, long weekend festival, and we're doing it throughout the month of July because nobody wants to be on Zoom for a whole weekend. So we're doing fringe Saturdays, every Saturday in the month of July, and plugging in programming based on, you know, how it all fits together that day, how long the pieces are. And we're looking for specifically works that are interrogating this new, strange, wonderful medium of Zoom theater, you know, who are figuring out, okay, yeah, how do we bring people together in this virtual space, and how do we use the limitations of the virtual presentation to find a new way into the story, or to make a new kind of performance, or to, as in this case, to connect collaborators who might not have been able to connect in another
version of the world. So that's really exciting, exploring the possibilities. And, also I was talking to someone about this earlier, also honoring the grief that we can't do the work that we know and love the way we know and love it, but not letting that stop us from making amazing art.
Yeah. So let me ask you. I can almost hear our members collectively asking this question. Are you taking submissions?
Yes.
You are. And are you taking submissions up until when?
May 15th.
Until May 15th. The clock is ticking.
Yeah.
This is.
So all the info is up on our website, and we can drop the link in the chat as well. And basically just going through, doing a submission on what do you want, who are you, what do you want to do, how does it fit into the virtual world, and the only specific WTF thing to keep in mind is that we are committed to creating, producing, and promoting extraordinary theater by women and all marginalized genders. So the leads on the project do need to be women plus or not, or members of who identify as marginalized genders. But other than that, sky's the limit.
That's great. Thank you, Johanna, for putting that in the
Yeah.
chat.
I'm going to put our email too, info@womenstheaterfestival.com, because especially for guild members, if you're a playwright and you have a cool idea, but you don't necessarily have the director or the technical creative partner to help you with this, that's another thing that we're happy to help connect you to those other people. And keep building these types of multi-area collaborations, because that's one of the silver linings right now, isn't it? That we can work with people everywhere. We don't have to pay for tickets for people to fly to Raleigh.
Yeah, pretty incredible. Yeah, that is one of the silver linings, right?
Yeah, it really is.
And all of this was just born of us loving playwrights like Donna and following them and stalking them on Twitter and things. But we've partnered with a lot of guild members over the past 2 months to do these staged reading moments. And it's just been such unbelievable collaborativeness and relationship building, which Donna has been amazing about.
That's great. Elizabeth, you started to say something.
Yeah, I was going to ask Johanna and Rowan if you guys would talk about the third collaborator of our group who isn't with us, but the accessibility sort of issue that's coming into our production, because I'm super excited about that as well.
Me too.
Yeah. One of our longtime collaborators is a company called Caption Point out of Chicago, run by a fella named Matthew Bivens. And in this play, there is a deaf character. So we're going to bring them on as collaborators in really trying to use this moment to flesh out how we handle open captioning and captioning services in this moment. So
that's fantastic. Yes, I feel like Christine probably just is like clocking
Yes.
information as it's
There's
coming.
There's so much possibility here of collaborating. And I know that the chat will only be open during this hour, but I'm pretty positive our team will share your contact information. Sarah, Sarah is always saying it's on Twitter, so don't worry. Because I know there's sometimes a tendency to go, oh, I need to write everything down during this whole thing, but it'll be available, and we'll connect, because I have some ideas too. I'd love to see more. Yeah.
Yay, Christine!
Great, thank you, Sarah. Sarah's live tweets for us every week, and she is so crazy amazing at it. It blows my mind every time. So thank you, Sarah, for grabbing that information and putting that out there for everyone. That's fantastic. And thank you all for being here and telling us all about this.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having
seriously,
us.
thank you for having us.
Talk about an unexpected collaboration.
Yeah, and Chicago's even a fourth region, so it's just truly not possible prior to this.
Yeah.
And as I think Elizabeth or somebody mentioned earlier, the collaborator that we are recruiting to direct the project, fingers crossed, is Oregon-based. And it's this beautiful fruition of long-term relationship building to be able to bring all these different people together, and also looking at this as a jumping off point for future work and future diving into new projects.
Yeah, terrific.
That's wonderful. I think, you know, one of the other silver linings of this this time period is how our community has really come together, and how we keep finding new ways to lift each other up. And it's I'm so happy to hear about what you all are doing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
and we're a company committed to equity. Sorry, I think we have to go, but like this is a moment that is like the playing field has been leveled. So small companies and big names, and we're all getting to swim in the same pond together. And I think that's ultimately a really good thing, and it's going to make all of our work better.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Totally agree. Yeah. Yeah. There's an op-ed piece that one of our members wrote that's just been posted on our blog today. That's kind of sitting in that same vein. It's all about kind of unprecedented access in this weird time when we're all in our homes.
Right.
So,
It's like Twitter on steroids.
exactly. Yeah. It's so true.
Much kinder and more entertaining.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. We hope so. Thank you again for being here. And will you remind us of the dates of when this festival is?
The whole month of July.
Whole month of July. Fantastic.
So it's starting July 4th, 11th, 18th, 25th are our 4 performance dates.
Got it.
But we're having conference programming during the weeks, and we need great conference presenters too. And we're splitting the conference registration fees with the presenters instead of that typical model of you go to a conference and you pay to go there even if you're a presenter. We're trying to make this more equitable as well.
That's great. That's great. Well, thanks again. I
Thank
so
you.
appreciate your time. I thank you for zooming in from various parts of the
Thank you.
world.
Thanks, Joey.
Yeah.
Bye,
Thank you
all.
for having
Take care.
us. Goodbye.
Pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.
Break legs in July.
Oh, that was great. Christine, you were telling
Yes.
us about a project in which you're involved, but as Terry is moving people around, I'm eager to bring Pogi in
Yes.
before we get started.
Here he comes. I can see his name.
Yes.
I'm afraid I'm going to mispronounce his last name, but I'm going to give it a try. I'm sorry in advance. Eric, that I got. Pogi, I've got. Sumangil, I think. Yes, hi.
Hey.
He's an actor and playwright in Minneapolis, a 2-time Playwright Center Many Voices Fellow. His plays include The Duties and Responsibilities of Being a Sidekick, Kicking the Gong Around, and The Debutante's Ball. Welcome.
Hi,
Welcome.
Pogi.
Welcome, Pogi. So tell us about your project, Unalienable.
Unalienable is it's just a response to what we're doing right now, what is happening around the world. It's a response specifically from the Asian American community. For me, it was really important to get our voices out there as our community is being affected in a very specific kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. You know, I think, first of all, Pogi, I just found out from my friend Reggie what Pogi means.
Yeah.
In Tagalog, which is handsome. So awesome. I love that.
I've had for a long time. And
I love that.
I actually received it ironically. So it's not like me with a big head just going around telling everyone to call me handsome. But
I think it's fantastic. I just wanted to say, well, let's bring on some of the other writers, because I was so glad that Pogi approached me to contribute a piece to the whole project. And we also have, let's see who we have. We have
Lucy Wang, who is a playwright and performer. Among several honors, she won the Kennedy Center Fund for New American Plays for Look What She Did, and she serves on the executive committee honor roll.
Yes. And Kit Yan is a yellow American, New York-based artist born in Enping, China, and raised in the Kingdom of Hawaii. Welcome back, Kit.
Hi.
Hi. Good to see you again.
Great to see you too, Joey, and great to see everyone.
Hello.
Thank you all. Will you all tell us about your monologues? Christine, I want to start with you. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. Well, the prompt really was broad yet specific, right, Pogi? It was about writing about what our experience is right now as Asian Americans, because it is a very difficult time for everybody. But then specifically we talked about this when Doug Wright was on a couple of weeks ago, and the Guild made a statement against the anti-Asian hate crimes that are happening, the sentiments that's happening because of the misplaced rage and blame on the Asian American community for this virus. So, you know, I honestly had been asked by somebody else to write about this a couple of weeks prior, and I said, I can't live. In general, as in my advocacy work, I cannot live in the rage and the pain of what's happening. I'm always trying to live in the possibility of coming out of it with some kind of solutions, or some kind of illuminating the human community in other ways that I'm inspired by. But I have to say that having worked on the statement with Doug and Lisa Crone and Ralph Sevish, it sort of cracked open my brain and my heart in a different way. So I was really happy to, I wrote two pieces actually. One that Katie Bradley from the Twin Cities, who I know and love from my work at the Guthrie Theater, is going to perform, and they're going to be videoed, so we'll be able to share them. And the other is being performed by my best friend Reggie Lee, who's done a lot of TV and film, and he would just, as soon as he heard about this, he wanted to be a part of it. So mine are about, well, should I tell you what they're about? That's really your question, or should we move on?
I'm just gonna tell us about it, and you've told us a lot about it. So yeah, that's great. And if you don't want to give anything away, I respect that too.
Well, just in a nutshell, they both, in different ways, have to do with the idea of being outside and being marked for being Asian American, and the different ways these two characters that I made up that have been inspired by people that I know, and also a lot of my own feelings about it, how the different ways we respond to that new kind of, for lack of a better word, threat.
Yeah.
But also trying to infuse some sense of humor into it, because I think that's really a lot of the ways we are all coping, you know, and need to try to cope and with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Kit, will you tell us about yours?
Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm so excited to be here, and so honored that Pogi invited me to be a part of this project. I collaborated with my best friend Poppy Liu, who is an actor, and we're sort of like talking a little bit about like what's going on in our lives, and I actually decided to ask Poppy to do a free write just about what was happening in their lives. They're in San Diego, quarantined sorry, there's a little construction happening, with their 10-year-old sister and then their mother. And so what's happening there, they live in a predominantly white neighborhood. And in this particular story, Poppy's neighbor was throwing a large party and not social distancing or wearing masks or doing anything sort of you were supposed to do right now. And that was a particularly frustrating experience for their family, especially given, you know, prior to the pandemic, their mom was already like wearing masks in public and experiencing racism as a result of just sort of like culturally what is really accepted in the Chinese community. I know that like my family and my mom and like a lot of us, and I wore masks all the time traveling anyways. And so the monologue just hones in on their particular feelings about their neighbor throwing this party and the sort of like history behind the feelings that were coming coming up as a result of that, and sort of like the social distancing that I think a lot of us were really forced to do as Asian Americans living in like white neighborhoods even before this pandemic.
Yeah, it sounds great. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Thanks.
Yeah, and I was, they were the primary writer and I was like a contributing writer and editor.
Yeah, that's great. I love that.
Very
Lucy, hi. Your background
Hi.
is beautiful.
Hi. Yes, it's the Noguchi Akari lamps, and I picked it as my virtual background. One, because I have a fence behind me, it's not very attractive, and two, I think it's fitting for what we're talking about because Noguchi went to the internment camp voluntarily, but he didn't fit in. But I just watched something about Norman Mineta and his legacy, and he talked about why were the Japanese Americans so obedient, and he said because they were trying to prove their loyalty. So when Pogi invited me to submit to this Unalienable, I thought about like what a lot of us have to do. And I called my monologue, Be Like Rushing Water, sort of a tribute to Bruce Lee. But basically, it's the same thing. You know, when I was growing up, my parents immigrated to America during the Vietnam War. And I do a comedy act or a show where I go, what self-respecting aspiring American moves to Ohio during the Vietnam War? I mean, we were immediately called gooks. And then, you know, the Japanese Auto Wars comes, and then we're Japs, and then it's chink, and then I make a joke, you know, during my high school reunion because Asian don't raise, and I was called the belle of the ball for, you know, my well-preserved body at the time. And then now it's back to chink because of China, 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 and it's just like, how do we break this cycle that whenever an Asian American or Asia, something bad happens in Asia, immediately Asian Americans are targets of violence and hate. And I, you know, my father worked for Goodyear and we used to joke, our American car is our flag. And I think now, because we have to wear face masks, now our face mask sort of has to be our American flag. Like wear something that has red, white, and blue, or wear something that immediately identifies you as, hey, I'm American, stop, don't come, stay 6 feet away.
Wow, yeah.
So, yeah, so my monologue is about how we have to go rush left, rush right, you know, just to try to stay safe.
Yeah. So Pogi, you contributed to this as well, am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The idea came out of me. I was just writing out of frustration, mostly just hearing about things that had happened both around the country and some local things that had happened here in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and things that were kind of going viral in our kind of local community in terms of people talking about moments of discrimination. There were notes left on a certain family's door out in the suburbs. And it was very, it just made people scared. It made people not sure if they wanted to go out, much like to kind of bounce back to Christine's monologue. And so I started writing, and then I realized that, you know, it's one of those moments where you go, I can't possibly be the only one feeling this way. And so I reached out to a handful of people, and then some folks were in a similar boat and they were saying, yeah, I want to write. Some other folks were like, I'm not ready to process this. It's really raw. It's really hard. And I wanted to honor that as well. But I also wanted to give anyone who sees this, you know, the catharsis that comes with hearing how you might be feeling through someone else's voice. And that was really important to me. So my first, I wrote 2 pieces. My first one is about someone who had just received a new recipe from their parents, and they were trying to do the recipe, but they cut their finger and they call a friend over FaceTime or Zoom or something, and then deliver this monologue. And the second piece that I have was kind of inspired. It was just a actual, like a brainstorm that I had about my situation. My wife is able to go back to work and I can't. I mean, I'm a teaching artist and an actor otherwise. And so I've had things canceled like many people have. And so I started to realize that I have this ingrained, like, kind of traditionally masculine ideas of like my role in the household. And that's not how I present myself. That's not how I speak to folks. And so it just, for me, was like, wow, there's an ingrained sense of my inability to work being tied to being tied to my worth as both a husband, a partner, as a man. And so just kind of exploring that idea, like, what does it mean when there are some people who can work and some people who can't? And what does that do to our kind of psyches and stuff like that? So just kind of exploring bigger ideas. And I've been able to read all of the plays, which is great, all of the monologues. And it's such a really amazing kind of patchwork of so many different viewpoints. And I'm really proud of the work that everyone's put in. It's really enlightening and really uplifting to see people kind of processing both their pain and their joy. So
I think one of the things that I was really interested in, Pogi, when you first approached me about it, was the idea that you had about bringing these stories into the narrative, so that there are all these there are lots of terrible news items out there, of course, about the prejudice and discrimination that's happening, and to sort of counter that with our own stories and putting a human face that is not just associated with the blame and the hate crimes, but really putting a human face on the experience. And so I'm really excited about that aspect of this project. I wanted to, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that one of the things that comes up a lot in the way that this kind of discrimination and racism perpetuates itself is that we're still not seen as fully American. And that's been something that's been carried over for such a long time that I think it's baffling to some communities that it's like, we've been here for generations and we were actually the first, some of the first non-native people to this land. And so it's just really interesting that we have to fight for us to be seen as just like kind of regular people who are sheltering in place right now, who are sitting down and trying to do things responsibly, and yet there's this kind of looming target on our backs, is what it feels like.
There's an extra layer of anxiety. Can you tell us how we'll get to see the videos? You're rolling them out, I think, in a certain way, but I'll let you tell us.
Yes. So maybe what I didn't say before is that this started with me and just like a few other folks. And then it was just like, it just blossomed into a bunch of people that I don't know personally that wanted to write and were reaching out to me. And I just thought that was amazing. And so part of it is like, I've been trying to figure out for the last few days how to get these posted. So right now, I actually posted the first 4. They are on the Barcata Theater Instagram page right now, which is honestly just a theater that I used to self-produce under. So it was just the name of a theater that I chose about 5-10 years ago now, that I did a fringe production under that name and haven't really touched it since. So I went and got an Instagram handle. So it's Barcata Theater. And the first videos are posted.
Can you spell that for us?
Sure. Yeah. Barcata is Barkada, and it's theater with an ER. So it's Barcata Theater, and it's also on Facebook. So
great.
The names are
in our chat right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
There you go.
So you rolled out 4 of them. How many of them are there in total?
Right now, I think there's like 17.
Wow.
15 or 17. Several people wrote multiple plays, multiple monologues, and yeah, so I just heard from a few more folks just in the last few days. So what I wanted to do is roll this out during Asian Pacific Islander American Heritage Month. So that's this month of May.
Right.
And so it'll just be, I think I have enough to do one at least every other day, or a couple every other day. So
are they all produced? Are they all done and ready to roll? Or are they?
They're not all done. They're the ones that I have. The ones that have been submitted are out to actors, and so all of those are out. I think my next batch coming in is going to be the middle of next week, but I am just getting in the first batch from this week, and then I wanted to put a just a title card at the beginning of it, because I didn't want anyone to misconstrue that like this is just a person speaking their own mind, that it was just like that this was an actual performance and it's a monologue. so I wanted to put it, I'm doing all of that so that I can just make sure I tag the front of it so that people know that this is a performance.
Yeah, right.
Pogi, I'd love to know, oh, sorry.
That's all right. Go ahead.
I'd love to know, Pogi, what geographically some of the places we can anticipate the stories are coming from, because our experiences of racism are so specific to our communities.
Yeah, that's a great comment. Because yes, so we have folks from New York, LA, Seattle, and a couple
Twin
of
Cities.
Chicago. What's that?
Twin Cities, of course.
Of course, Twin Cities. Yeah, so I think it's really kind of spread out across the country, and to that point, Kit, it's like it's recognizing that the experience in these different regions are very different experiences, and just wanting to hear from, I think there are some monologues that are just very like, yeah, this is my daily life, and some that are really like hard hitting about what's going on and the fear that people are experiencing. Some real life experiences are talked about in there, and it's really, it's been just an interesting diversity of plays.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to tell us the title under which this collection of monologues exists is Unalienable, and I know that that's something that you talk about a little bit on your website. Can you walk us through that, why you chose unalienable?
Yes, unalienable just means something that's inherent, something that just belongs to you, and I think a lot of us feel like, even though this isn't necessarily the meaning of the word, but the play on the word is that we are made to feel alien as Asian Americans in this country, and so it kind of speaks to the play on words of that, and also that there's an inherent sense of our humanity, and I wanted to really touch on that and our experience as Americans living through this COVID-19 crisis right now. And hopefully people can really understand our point of view in our own words and with our own faces. I think that's really, really important. What I saw was that there were people talking about the Asian American community, and I was kind of going, well, where are the Asian Americans and how are we talking about our own experience in our own community? So that's really kind of what started the idea of wanting to get this put together.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, we're at, oh gosh, we're moving right along.
We are.
You haven't looked at the
That's
clock.
incredible. I gotta say, thank you so much. It's just amazing.
It's so amazing.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things we've been talking about all through this last 8 weeks of doing the show is various writers' response to the time. So whether people are not able to, they don't have the brain space to write anything, or they're writing a lot, or somewhere in between. And one of the things that we were discussing was the sort of this phenomenon of leaning into the subject. And I think that's what's happening with this project, which is quite fascinating. And I think by the time we come through the other end of this, there's going to be a lot of art that's been created that will reflect all of the diversity of responses. So I personally thank you very much, Pogi, for inviting so many of us in to do this, and hopefully it will inspire others to keep doing this. And maybe we'll be a part of the festival in North Carolina. I don't know. Maybe that's one of my ideas.
Awesome.
So great. More collaboration.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
great.
Well, thank you for being a part of it, Christine, and for writing. And I want to also say a special thank you to Elizabeth Wang, who found a lot of playwrights, and also Eric Sharp, who reached out to his group of friends and his kind of community as well to grab a couple of playwrights as well.
Yeah. Oh, we have a question. Can you tell us again what the website is for Unalienable? So I think I posted it. Pogi, it's on your website, right?
It's on my website. So this is the tricky thing. My website is my name. So it's ericpogisumangil.com/unalienable.
Yeah.
So there's, I think Sarah will probably post it too, because she's
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah.
And we'll make
Post it in
sure.
the chat.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes. Sarah already says it's posted. So we'll make sure that we follow and repost if we can, and do all of that. Share widely. I think it's I'm very proud of you for doing this, and all of us for participating. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's been really, really great to have this moment that we can do this work.
Yeah. And lots of us have access to Instagram, so a lot of us can watch, which is great.
I need a lesson on reposting Instagram, but that's for another day.
Oh my goodness. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you for joining us. Can't wait to hear your work.
So good to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Be well.
Nice to meet you all.
That was great.
That really
I keep having this thought that you know, I keep thinking, how long did it take before that we were into the AIDS crisis, before playwrights started to really respond, and then now we have this entire canon of work that's referred to typically as the AIDS plays that span many years, and I feel like we're basically watching the art that's being made during this pandemic roll out. In some cases, people are reserved and it's not happening now. And for other people, they're just like, it's just pouring out of them. And it's so interesting to see.
Right. Because
I'm so glad that you guys are, your voices are being heard now, because it's such an important part of the conversation, rather than people talking about what's happening to Asian Americans, that you're doing it in your own voice. And
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. Great. Oh my gosh. Thank you all so much for being here. Where am I? Thanks to all of our guests. We're just reading the script now. That sounds so sincere, doesn't it?
Thank you Christopher DIAZ and DONNA HOKE.
Rowan Haigh and Johanna Edwards.
And thanks to Elizabeth Douglas and Kit Yan.
And Eric, Pogi, Handsome, Sumangil, and Lucy Wang.
Thanks to the staff of the Dramatist Guild, as always, Sarah Rebell and Zach Turner.
Thanks to Lily Dwoskin and Emmanuel Wilson.
And of course, our own Terry Stratton, who keeps everything running smoothly behind the scenes. Thank you.
That's right. And thanks to my co-hosts, Amanda Green and Christine Toy Johnson, and all of our viewers for being here. We'll be back next week at the same time when Lisa Crone is coming on for 10 questions, and we'll have a round table of 5 artistic directors from across the country. We're very excited about it.
Thank you, Joey.
Take care. Yes.
Thank you.
Take care of yourselves.
Thanks.
Bye.
Good week, everybody.
You too.